Hey, right on. Thank you for taking some time here today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been pounding your music at the house. My wife loves. She's like, "You're talking to K.Flay? What the really?" So yeah, really looking forward to doing this with you. Oh, and
That's
may the
awesome.
fourth be with you. Are you a Star Wars geek?
You know what's so funny? I'm not.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm not like anti Star Wars, but today is my 2 week uh, vaccine. I'm like, I'm fully vaccinated. So I do feel like may the force be with me today on that level.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and how have you been dealing with it? I mean, everybody's in the same boat, but like, what's your world been like for the last 12, 15 months? It's a crazy year.
It has undoubtedly been a crazy year. My, I was lucky because I didn't have this giant tour and kind of rollout plan for last year. It just so happened that it was going to be a recording year for me and kind of like a year actually in Los Angeles where I live.
Right.
So I didn't have this insane shakeup of all of my plans. Of course, many things were changed in the process of recording and making music became very different quite suddenly. But yeah, I think for me, in many ways, this this period has been of this very interesting time of reflection, and I've spent my adult life touring on the road, which is a very exciting way to live and a very fun way to live, but also a very chaotic way to live. And I've actually I've been able to take a step back and sort of assess this concept of stimulation without getting like too deep into my own weird psychological stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think I became very socialized in lots of ways to seek stimulation. I'm living in like even like touring in a van or in a bus. It's a lot of stimulation. You never just like sleep in a bed and it's quiet. There's
Right.
people around and there's noise and it's bumpy and this year I think has been this really, I mean, I'm really grateful for it. This really kind of, um, I don't know, wonderful moment of clarity in terms of evaluating my relationship to stimulation.
Yeah.
And so
No,
I've
it's
been
well said. I
doing,
mean, I think a lot of people are like that as well. Certainly people like you that are performers, that they're content creators, you're touring, you're showing your craft to everybody. But I think that could even be said to just general population, the person that's working an electrical job or working at, McDonald's or whatever it is. I think that, if anything, we can look at this time and kind of just assess everything.
totally. And
And
I,
if we're not, we're not, we've lost something. The message is not.
yeah, and I think with the internet, I think you're totally right. We're all in this world of constant stimulation.
Yeah.
Like at our fingertips is a computer for many of us, and
Hmm.
um, that's the size of a Tic Tac box or whatever, or a little
I know.
bigger than that. So yeah, it's been a combination year for me of having a moment in a really beautiful way to get excited about re-entry
Yeah.
with all this stuff that I've learned about kind of what I'm really seeking and these next frontiers I want to explore just inside my own mind. And then in addition, I've been able to make music that I'm very excited about. And I was actually talking to my manager the other day about this. Like, I know a lot of the music created in quarantine was very intimate and this aesthetic of intimacy, intimate music, sounds that are very uh, quiet and sibilant, and all this stuff. And I think my reaction to quarantine and being cooped up was sort of to do the opposite and make music that was pretty like brash and loud
You know,
and in your face, I guess.
yeah, I do know that I asked. my followers to get you some questions, and there was somebody that had a question about that. Rob goes, yeah, I'm wondering how different it is recording music during this pandemic, and how did she get along with the guys in Arkells? Freaking
Oh,
great guys.
well, I'll answer both parts of that question. Yeah, I think making music during quarantine, because I was working with a lot of folks that I had collaborated with pre-quarantine in terms of producers, uh, we already had a rapport. I mean, like for instance, the people that I worked with on Four Letter Words, one of those producers, Tommy, we've been working on this is our third album together. So we have already like this working relationship that was actually able to exist on Zoom.
Yeah. I mean, he's part of the team.
Exactly. So, and a lot of the songs on this EP were, well, all of them were with people that I knew already and had a relationship with. So I was lucky in that respect, and I've always been a very self-sufficient artist in terms of recording vocals and doing lots of things just on my own. So I was also able to really kind of take advantage of that and set up my studio and do my thing and like make these songs in this interesting manner. But with regard to the Arkells, I love those guys. We met probably, we've been talking about this a little bit just because the song came out. We met when I was out on tour with Mother Mother. So
Okay.
this would be
Another
like
Canadian,
4 years
that's a
ago.
Vancouver
Yes.
based rock band. Yeah.
Yeah,
Great
BC
guys as well.
folks.
Yeah.
I love Mother Mother, and I was opening for them all across Canada. We were
Oh, wow.
touring like, Red Deer. Like I was like, we were out there doing it. It was
Yeah.
my first time going to a lot of these cities and places. And I was a guest on Max's podcast, and we had a lot of mutual friends in common. I think Lights was our connecting friend,
Okay.
and yeah, our friendship just started from there. And then Max texted me like a little over a year ago, being like, "Hey, we have this song that we're working on. You want to come to the studio? We're in LA."
Nice.
And yeah, that was kind of how that came about.
Yeah, because you always wonder, like, as a fan of both bands. I mean, Max has been on the show. Oddly, Lights has been on this podcast. You always wonder, like, how these collaborations come together. The Ex Ambassadors is fucking awesome. That's great. That's a great track.
Well, what's so funny about all of this, and I think when before I did music, I had no idea how anything worked, of course,
Yeah.
but so much of it is just like, I think people would be shocked at how casual so much of the behind the scenes on collaboration is, because most of it is just artist to artist, like
Like,
texting, DMing, whatever.
hey, you want to be on my song?
Oh, and what's funny about that Ex Ambassadors track? So Sam Harris, who's the lead singer of Ex Ambassadors, and been a friend of mine now for about 4 or 5 years. We were on the same label for many years.
Okay.
He FaceTimed me. I was actually in my friend's, this was like beginning COVID. I was in my friend's front yard being like, this is insane. We were doing these reading in the yard on Sundays at my friend's house.
Okay.
This is like early COVID.
Yeah, just to hang. Yeah.
Just to like, sort of cope with the chaos. And Sam FaceTimed me and he was like, dude, I wrote this thing and like Jordan's on it. Jordan's written some stuff, and would you want to check it out? I think like it could be awesome. And he sent it to me and I listened and I was like, oh, I love this. And that afternoon, I was at this point in COVID, by the way, I had set up a studio at my friend's house in their dining room because they were out of town.
Okay. Nice.
And I was like at their house during the day, using it as a studio, and then coming home to my place at night. And I went over to their house. I wrote the verse, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, recorded it. And there you have it.
Yeah. It's interesting because, the like hip hop, the rap world, they kind of seem to do it more often than you get, where it's like, you won't see Max on a Mother song, or maybe you
Right.
would, but it's not as often, right? But I do like it when it happens.
I love it. I mean, I love collaboration, and I think as a solo artist, it's always easier because you're kind of
Yeah.
a free agent. But I think what's so interesting about collaboration and what's so interesting about conversation in general of any type is that you're both let loose from expectations a little bit, because if I'm on an Arkells track, it means Arkells get to do some different stuff because I'm on it. So
Right.
okay, it's
Right.
different. And if I'm on an Arkells track, it means, well, I get to do some different stuff because Arkells are on it,
Our Kells track.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
we're loosening each other's um, boundaries
Yeah.
in
And
a good way.
expectations of fans, right? Yeah.
Yep,
And Craig goes, yeah, would love to hear about the process with Tom Morello and that collaboration.
totally. So yeah, I've got a song called, or well, I've got a song featuring Tom Morello on this next EP, and that relationship again. This is a text-based collaboration. I met Tom because he cold emailed me
No way.
like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
And he was like, "Hey, I heard your song on the radio. My kids and I loved it. Can I call you?"
Which
And
song was he talking about?
but he was talking about Blood in the Cut.
Love
This
the
was like
cut. Yeah.
right when Blood in the
Yeah.
Cut came out, was on the radio. And I got the email. I remember I was in Nashville, Tennessee. And we used to, before the live show, play this like, super cut on YouTube of Rage Against the Machine playing South American festivals. And it
Nice.
was just like Rage Against the Machine in Brazil in 1996, or just like these insane moments. And it was so surreal to me. But it turned out Tom was working on a solo record, which I featured on. I wrote a song with him for that, and he and I have a lot of commonalities. We're from the same kind of 20 minutes from each other, suburbs of Chicago, and have kind of a lot of parallels, I think, in terms of the way we are. We're pretty like nice, reasonable
Yeah. Yeah.
people, but we make aggressive music. Like, what is that experience like? So there's a real kinship there, and I really respect Tom, and I really look up to him. So I was working on this song and had the demo of it essentially, and we were kind of like, should you ask Tom to play on it? So I should find the text, but I think I just texted him like, hey, I'm working on this song. Would you would you play on it, and would you like solo and like do your thing, just like go
Like,
insane,
do Tom.
do Tom, like full Tom, no holds barred.
Yeah.
And he was like, sure. And then a week later, I get the thing, and I'm like, oh God, there's that feeling of like, I'm so excited, but oh my God, I'm a little nervous too. Cause like, what if, anyway, he killed it. So there's,
Dude, that's so amazing. Amazing. So what's it like growing up where you grew up? Because it's like under 30,000 people, right? Where you grew up? And,
yeah, I mean,
and and would people that knew you expect you to be where you are today? Like you take a course in like psychology and sociology.
yeah.
Are you blowing your friends' minds?
I mean, I think I'm past the point. I did blow their minds, I think, at some point. Now they're
Yeah.
used to it. But
Yeah.
I mean, where I grew up is, as you say, it's under 30,000 people. It's a
Small.
town.
Yeah.
It's part of, it's a suburb of Chicago. So it's in the Chicago metro area.
Okay.
So you're close to the city, but not in it. And it's you know, a pretty quiet, lots of trees, not much is happening, uh, fairly homogenous. It's not not a very diverse place at all, in many ways. And so I think while there were elements of my upbringing that that I'm really grateful for. And I got a really good education. Um, and that was sort of a refuge for me in many ways. Like school and academics was this place where I could thrive and felt like I had some control, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was yeah, it wasn't until I left and went to college. I went to school in the Bay Area. I'm visiting my parents right now, so I'm wearing
Oh
like
yeah.
my college clothes right now. So I'm wearing
A little throwback.
a little throwback, but yeah, it wasn't until I kind of got to California and sort of the world started opening up in this bigger way. And I think for me, music was a total deviation. So yes, people, I think, were very surprised. But in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense because I think there was a part of me that was really yearning to live in this world where I was free. Again, talking about expectations, where I was free from my own expectations. And in school and academics, I had a lot of expectations for myself. And while that was an exciting world to be in, it didn't offer me the same kind of freedom that music did because I didn't know anything about music really,
Mm.
and I had no rules for it. I didn't like envision a career for myself. I was just doing it for the sheer delight.
Interesting. So what's the
Yeah.
music in the Flaherty house as a kid growing up? Like what are your parents playing?
Um, like, well, my parents split up, and so I had a biological dad who died, and then another dad and my mom. And my biological dad was the one who was really into music. And so there was a lot of music in the house. He played a lot of, I guess, classic rock at this point, and
Yeah.
blues. But yeah, a lot of rock and roll and blues. And, but also, like he introduced me to the Talking Heads and bands like that as well.
Hmm.
And he taught me to play like kind of rudimentary guitar, I guess you would say, when I
Hmm.
was like fifth or sixth grade. So that was like the music, that I was exposed to, but it was, again, it was not a part of my life, kind of, in a weird way.
Yeah.
Until
Which is
until I got
weird.
to college. Yeah, which is
Yeah.
strange. But
Totally strange.
it's nice. It's nice, I think, given the fact that I do have this, like a parent who is gone. There is a way that he kind of like lives on through me, and that's cool.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
What was your first concert?
This is I don't totally know. I think my first concert was like technically a Beach Boys concert, like at an outdoor venue. You know what I mean? One of these like reunion of the Beach Boys. I have no idea who was in the
Right.
band.
The only song you remember is Kokomo.
Right.
Why did I see the Beach Boys then?
And I was like, 8 or something.
Yeah.
One of the first concerts I like bought tickets to was Coldplay,
Oh wow.
actually, on their first record.
Okay.
And
Now here's a
I
band for
yeah.
Coldplay. Like it's not a band that I would go home and listen to, but if they're coming to Vancouver, I'm going to see that show. Like
Oh,
they're
hell
just
yeah.
that good. Like incredible live band.
Also,
Incredible.
Parachutes, that record is, in my opinion, very
It's
good. I
huge.
love one, and the reason I bought tickets to it was I went to Tower Records. I was in Chicago. I was in the
Tower
city.
Records
I went to
throwback.
Tower Records. It was like right before it closed, I guess, and listened to it. I had never heard of Coldplay.
Right. They had
I
those little
listened
listening
to it
booths.
on a
Yeah.
listening station, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is pretty cool." And they were playing at a venue called the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago,
Oh, okay.
and which I have now
Small. Like
played.
that's a 1,000 seater, 1,200?
No, bigger.
Or was
It's
it bigger?
like 5,000
Okay.
capacity. It's pretty big.
Yeah.
And yeah, Granddaddy opened for them,
Okay.
and I that was like that was one of the first that was like, I think that was the first show where I was like, hey guys, I want to go see this show. Do you want to come with me? I went to a few other concerts that like other people bought tickets and I just kind of went. But
Yeah.
that was like the first
That
decision I
you
made.
wanted to, like, I'm
Yeah.
going to this show.
Yeah.
That's great. What have you been binge watching lately?
Oh, I've been binge watching New Girl.
New Girl, what's that about?
It's a sitcom. It's like a very relaxing sitcom starring Zoe Deschanel.
Okay.
That it's like it was on for like 7 seasons. So it's like and it's 22 episodes a season. So it's like a full
Oh wow.
on like
Like it's
network
binging.
sitcom. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So slowly working through that. To be honest, not watching a ton of television
Hmm.
in general. I listen to a lot of podcasts and I read a lot of books and I also do a lot of crossword puzzles.
Oh, no way.
So that's
You're gonna rip a mask off and be my mom? Like, what's going on?
I mean, I'm just waiting until I'm like I in many ways have like the personality and tendencies of both like a young child and an old person,
Mhm.
like an older person, 60 plus. So I think that's what's sort of strange about me is that like people I act yeah, I have like the behavior and attitude of an 8-year-old and of a 65-year-old.
I love it. What are you reading?
I'm reading a book right now called The Idiot.
Okay.
Um, not the Dostoevsky idiot, but a different one.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'm actually listening to a new podcast that's pretty interesting. That's called Death at the Wing, which is kind of like a history of the NBA in the 1980s, and
Oh,
also about like the United States in the 1980s and like the rise of Reaganism, and it's pretty cool.
are you a big basketball fan then?
I mean, I grew up in the golden age of the Bulls,
Yeah,
so it was hard. It was pretty easy to be a basketball fan, and I played basketball growing up.
right.
But I'm not like, I'm
Yeah,
not crazed about the NBA. But I'm interested. I find sports pretty interesting in many ways as a reflection of
right.
our society. I think
Totally.
sports are, yeah, a
Yeah.
very um, yeah, I guess that's for a different podcast, but the
So is it King James or is it MJ? Who's the GOAT?
mm, um okay, who's the goat? I mean, I think I'd have to say Michael Jordan, but from a personality standpoint, I think LeBron. I mean, I would much rather, no offense to Michael Jordan, much rather hang out
Right.
with LeBron
Hell
James.
yeah.
I mean, he
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
But from a yeah, again, from my own personal history and kind of the place of the Chicago Bulls in my world of nostalgia, Michael Jordan would be the goat,
Yeah.
but the hangout goat would certainly be LeBron James.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. Quickly back to the music. Inside Voices out June 11th.
Yes.
How long did you have the EP completed? And is it weird to be releasing music when you can't tour to support it?
I have had the music done for a while, but not so long that I have grown weary of it.
Hmm.
It still feels pretty fresh to me. So some of these songs, I think we mixed everything at the beginning of this year. So
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
it's still pretty fresh in my mind in many ways. Even though I started writing some of these songs a year ago, or a little bit over a year ago, that's kind of typical for a record. Honestly, I mean that's short in some cases
Right.
when you're putting out music. So they it, yeah, I feel pretty lucky about that. In terms of releasing music when you can't play shows in the normal fashion, well, we've got a tour booked for next year, and I'm really hopeful it can happen. You know, tickets are on sale. We've been doing well with that, and I think people are really
Oh,
excited.
people are
So
dying to get back to it.
I
I
know,
mean,
geez.
it's just going to be explosive when you actually are able to tour. It's going to be fucking mental.
I know, and I think for me, in terms of my mindset, it's like, okay, I've got these shows. I'm cautiously optimistic that everything is, going to go as planned in that department. And so my goal is just like, how do I get ready for that tour? I've got some dates this summer and fall, like festivals and some
Festivals and
opening
stuff.
dates,
Yeah.
which I think will be, that'll be my first time testing out the new music live. What's exciting for me is that like this EP is like begging to be played live. It's loud and
Nice.
it's like a I was saying to my friend, like, there's sometimes when you're putting together a live show and you're like, oh man, is it too like low energy? I think what's exciting for me is like, this is not low energy. And at this point, the catalog is big and we can put on this, like, what I think is a really dynamic and exciting show. So I'm just staying focused on that and trying not to get, caught up in the cycle of doubt and worry. But yeah,
Hard not to, though.
hard not to.
Hard not to, though. Yeah. Listen, I want to respect your time. I told you I'd probably need maybe 20 minutes. We're way past that now, but I do want to still get to a few more of your fan questions
For sure.
before I let you go. Interesting. Mark wants to know, do you believe in Bigfoot, Sasquatch?
I've honestly never thought about it. I don't actually know really the lore of Sasquatch. So I'm not really positive I can answer this question. But I think Sasquatch, right, is like a monster in
That
the
lives
ice.
in the forest, not in ice.
Not in ice, in the forest.
It's the forest, and seen,
Hmm.
prints of this beast. There's
Oh,
been some hair findings, and there's skeptics. There's people that believe it. I don't know.
is it wrong to say I really don't care either way?
Well, yeah, and also that's it's the Yeti as well. If you know
Right.
the Yeti,
So no
same thing.
disrespect to Sasquatch Yeti debate. I'm not really that into, like, this comes up with UFOs sometimes. Like,
Okay.
I'm like good either way.
Yeah.
If they come around and they're like suddenly a part of our world, like that, okay, then I'm gonna deal with that. But I'm not like super into that speculation. So I'm Sasquatch agnostic.
That's fair. That's fair. Chris goes, she seems to have a great sense of humor and loves the jokes and puns. What's her go-to joke right now?
Oh my god, my go-to joke. Um, well, it's like a morbid joke, but it's my favorite. It's like kind of one of my all-time favorite jokes. My front of house, who I've toured with for however many years, he supplied me with many jokes. He has a great supply, and his best one, I think, is, will glass coffins be a success? Remains to be seen.
No.
And again, I hate to.
We're done.
That one like always gets me. I don't know why, and I know it's like
that's straight up dad jokes. Those are.
Oh
yeah.
It's a dad joke. It's a dad joke for sure.
Yeah. Amber, who is the most famous person that you've met?
Oh wow.
I mean, Tom Morello.
Tom Morello is pretty famous. I've met Courtney Love. I was actually just telling this story. The first time I met her was, strangely enough, the night, and this is again, sorry for the darkness at the end of the episode, the night that Osama bin Laden was killed.
Oh, wow.
I was at this dinner party. It was like one of the most surreal moments. I was at this like pretty small dinner party in New York City, and the guy next to me turned to me and he like looking at his phone. He's like, "Oh my God, like they've killed Osama bin Laden." And at that very moment, Courtney Love walked up to the dinner table. I was just like, wow, this is strange.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's the most famous, but
Oh, she's up
that
there.
she's up there, and that
She's up
one,
there.
yeah, that memory is very sharp in my mind,
Etched into,
etched
yes.
into my memory.
Dina, are you a gambler?
No,
Same.
I've
I used to
gambled
do it when I was younger,
once.
but like I hate losing my money now. I can't fucking do it. I just hate it.
Yeah, I've gambled. I had one night of gambling in Reno, and I gambled $20, and I had a blast. We like played blackjack, and it was really fun. But Reno is chill. You know what I mean? Like Reno is kind of like
Yeah,
it's not high stakes or anything. So it was very fun, very nice. And that was the one time I've gambled, and I think that will probably be it.
probably the last time. Yeah. I want to know this too. Sarah wants to know, which 3 albums do you need for the deserted island?
Ooh, um, well, uh, when I think about this question, I think about like, well, what am I going to need psychologically on a deserted island? And I feel like one of the things I'm going to need is fun. So I would pick Sergeant Pepper, Beatles.
Our dog is named after that album. His name is Sergeant. You can call him Sarge, but it's Sergeant Puppers.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that record.
Love that album.
It's a very fond memories with that record. And again, it's fun. It's like weird. And I feel
Right.
like on a deserted island, you need like kookiness.
Right. And how crazy is that to think of that album? And the reason why they made that album is because they were so done with being the Beatles that they literally made, like, if we weren't the Beatles, here's another take on us. Like, isn't that
Oh,
insane to think that?
yeah, it's absolutely insane to think about that. And I think what's interesting is for many of us, that's like classic Beatles. you know,
Totally.
they're like, we're redefining ourselves.
Yeah, they did it because we're sick of being the Beatles.
um, okay, so I would pick that.
Great
I'd
album.
probably pick the Battle of Los Angeles, Rage Against the Machine. I think like catharsis would be very necessary.
Oh yeah.
Again, like energy, rage, the exercising of those demons, and then hmm, maybe. I mean, well, okay. I'm a very big Yeah Yeah Yeahs fan, and I feel like I would need
Okay.
some emotional music. So I love Show Your Bones, their record, which I didn't really get into until many years after it came out, but I think I would pick that, you know.
Well done. Like, there's a question that I don't know that I could answer. I mean, I could answer it, but it would probably be different tomorrow.
Well, and I think that's the key is like,
Yeah.
I don't know, who knows what
Yeah,
I would
totally.
do, but I think like, you know,
Yeah.
you need like catharsis, fun, and then to engage in your own like sentimentality, probably something like that.
Yeah. All right. Last question. I'll wrap it up with with an oddball.
Okay.
Have you ever had a near death experience? Not necessarily you're floating over your body or whatever, but more like,
Yeah.
holy crap, I could have died there.
Yeah, actually, right where I am, my parents' house, like a year and a half ago, I was visiting on tour. I was like here for a couple days in between shows, and there was a fire, and we like had to escape. It was crazy
Wow.
in the middle of the night. Yeah, um, this a battery exploded, and I heard it explode, and I like ran into the living room, and everything was in flames. And I
Holy
like
shit.
it was fucking insane. It was
Like, so
actually like
so what did you do? What
so I went into my parents' room, and my dad had just had surgery like a day before. Um, that's why I was visiting, and it was like, we got to get out. There's a fire,
holy
and it started
shit.
filling up with like I mean the amount of smoke that happens. It's so everything's happening so quickly. It's crazy. I had never been in a fire before or anything like that, and yeah, we got out. Um, safely, and the fire department came and hosed everything down and essentially destroyed their place with water and smoke. I mean, the smoke and water did all this crazy damage, but luckily, like, we were all okay and we got out, but it was totally surreal. I was actually thinking about it last night. Yeah. And then my parents had to like live in this
Renovate and
temporary
everything, and
apartment for a
yeah.
really long time. And yeah, anyway,
Wow.
so, but dude, it was fucking, oh, sorry
Scary shit.
if I can swear. It was,
Yeah, it's scary.
it was very scary.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you again for doing this. You're easy to find online, simply K.Flay, at K.Flay on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Inside Voices is out June 11th, and I guess we'll see you online.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate it.